Hundreds of people came together in County Durham today to remember another British soldier killed in Afghanistan. Corporal Lee Brownson died in an explosion last month. He leaves behind 2 daughters and a wife, Leanne, who's expecting their 3rd child in the summer. His commanding officer said his first priority was to take care of others. The government has been warned to wake up and acknowledge the true cost of dementia, which charities say is fast becoming the greatest medical challenge of the 21st century. A report which came out today says that more people suffer from the condition than we'd first thought. 820,000 in this country and rising, and it's costing us £23 billion every year. But despite these frightening figures, the amount being spent on dementia research is 12 times less than that spent on cancer. Medical editor Lawrence McGuinty reports.
Shall we have a look at this cookery book?
Yeah. Alan Johnson was diagnosed with dementia 9 years ago. Drugs have helped him, but he still needs constant care from his wife Elsie. She has to lay out his shaving gear. He can only eat with a spoon and needs her help to get out of the house. Elsie says too little money is being spent on dementia research.
And I think it's because they will look at somebody with dementia and they will say, well, he looks all right to me, or she looks all right to me. But the fact is, they're not all right. And they seem to forget that they are suffering a long-term illness, the same as somebody with a cancer. With cancer, it's an awful, awful disease. And you know, my heart goes out to people like that who are suffering, and their families and their loved ones. But we are no different.
Today's report warns that by the 2020s there will be over 1 million people with dementia, all needing the kind of dedicated care that Alan gets. Yet the amount spent on research is piffling. For every £100 spent on caring for cancer patients, £10 goes to research. But for every £100 spent on caring for dementia patients, research gets a measly 50p. The head of one dementia charity says research has a lot to offer.
The disease can last really quite a long time, average 8 years, but some people last a lot longer than that. So it might be that better treatments that are coming along will help with those, but also just as understanding more about the disease might mean that there are drugs out there we could use almost straight away. But more than that, we need to understand fundamentally more about the cause, and that means more research right at the beginning.
Ministers say they've taken all that on board, but charities and patients haven't yet seen the colour of their money. Lawrence McGuinty, ITV News.
Well, I'm joined now by Care Services Minister Phil Hope. Thanks for joining us,
Hello.
Mr Hope. We need to spend a lot more money now on research into dementia, don't we?
Yes, I want to see the amount of research and the quality of that research increase. And there is £1.7 billion of money provided by the government for research by the National Institute for Health Research and by the Medical Research Council. And independent scientific advisors make decisions about where that money goes for cancer research or dementia research. And it's very important.
It's your job now, though, sorry to interrupt you, Mr Hope, but don't you think it's your job now to force those medical experts to reassess their priorities and say, actually, this is a costly and extremely widespread condition and we need to put a bigger proportion of that pot of cash into dementia now?
Well, I do think I want to see more of that money going into dementia, and to do that we need dementia researchers up and down the country to put forward high quality proposals that these independent scientific experts can judge and assess and then allocate the funding to. That's why I'm funding a network of dementia researchers in the same way as they did 20 years ago, fund a network of cancer researchers, and that's why there's so much good cancer research. This network of dementia researchers will bring forward proposals to the MRC, to the National Health Research Institute, to make sure that the £1.7 billion, that money, some of that money goes into dementia research in future. And I'm chairing a ministerial research group specifically to achieve that outcome.
It's a tricky one, isn't it? Because if your loved one is suffering from dementia, if you've got dementia yourself, there is this feeling there's nothing much that can be done. It's not like other diseases where you think you might get cured. And in a way, it's not an appealing area for research because of that.
Yes, I convened a national summit bringing together all the key organisations, including the Alzheimer's Research Trust and other organisations, into a summit in the summer. And they said we can do 3 things. We can look more into the causes of dementia. We can look more at the cures that are possible for for dementia, and we're not there yet. And we can also research how we can care better for people with dementia to help them to live well with the disease if they've already got it. So these are the areas that we're focusing on, and we need the public's participation in this, not least because we need tissue for the researchers to work on.
Indeed. OK, Phil Hope, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Still to come here on the Lunchtime News, what Katie did next. Is Jordan's latest marriage just a publicity stunt? And a problem shared. An amputee Marine has a little girl to thank for his new legs.
He's my hero, and he has a leg like me.
But before that, it's been reported that Dr. Conrad Murray, Michael Jackson's doctor at the time of his death, is about to be charged with the involuntary manslaughter of the star. Dr. Murray is meeting with his lawyers in Los Angeles today. Our colleague from CNN, Ted Rowlands, is in LA this lunchtime.
Dr. Conrad Murray and his legal team have traveled from Houston to Los Angeles in anticipation that at some point this week, Dr. Conrad Murray will be surrendering to authorities to answer to expected charges against Dr. Murray in the death of Michael Jackson. What the legal team is hoping to avoid by coming to Los Angeles and making Dr. Murray available is an arrest and that enduring image of their client in handcuffs. So one of the options is for Dr. Murray to turn himself in this building here, the criminal courts building in downtown Los Angeles, go in front of a judge and be processed here rather than be processed at a police station. It's been more than 6 months since Michael Jackson's death, and over that period of time, investigators have had time to pore over what Dr. Murray prescribed and gave Michael Jackson, not only in the hours leading up to his death, but the weeks and months leading up to his death. And at this point, it appears as though what they have found has led them to move forward and prosecute Dr. Conrad Murray for the death of Michael Jackson.
CNN's Ted Rowlands in Los Angeles there for us. The US has said it is ready to listen if Iran genuinely has something new to say regarding its disputed nuclear program. Iranian President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad has said Iran is prepared to send its enriched uranium abroad in exchange for nuclear fuel, under a plan that the West hopes will stop the material being used for nuclear weapons. Well, our international editor Bill Neely has been following these developments and joins me here in the studio. Bill, how significant is this offer from Ahmadinejad?
It's significant if he really means it. The question is, does he mean it? Does Ahmadinejad actually speak for Iran on nuclear issues? Constitutionally, in fact, he doesn't. So is the UN about to get a letter from Tehran, or was this just an off-the-cuff remark in a television interview? Iran agreed to this deal in October in Geneva. I was there. Then it began to raise objections, and last month it appeared to reject it altogether. Now suddenly he said yes. Why? Why now? Well, there are looming international sanctions against Iran. Iran loves to buy time. It may be that. And also his position within Iran is weak. He wants to shore up his own support. So I think it tells us as much about an internal power struggle in Iran as it does about its position on the nuclear issue.
And how about the Americans? What's the reaction been there? Are they taking this offer seriously?
Very wary, very cautious. If you're serious, we'll listen. If you're serious, send a letter to the UN with a formal yes or no. And that is the problem about Iran. There are never any definite yeses or nos, full stops. They just want to keep this going. And the West's suspicion is they want to keep it going in order to buy time because they have a covert nuclear weapons program. That's the danger. And quite frankly, we just don't know exactly what's going on. So interesting. We'll see.
OK, Bill, thank you.